how I would find my first fix and flip deal if it was today. I've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of investors to find deals. And I personally used to do dozens of these strategies on my own fix and flip deals. Well, things are different now because when I got started, you didn't have an easy way with technology and finding solutions and getting information like you do today. You had to work a lot harder at it. But if I were to start today, this is what I would do. It's the very first thing I would do is get a good software, a software that's going to help you understand motivation and equity. You see, what you want to be able to do is cross-merge information. So just because somebody has equity doesn't mean they're necessarily motivated. But if they have equity on the property and they have IRS lien or a child support that's back due, it probably means that there's equity and there's some form of motivation, and that's somebody that I want to be reaching out to see how I can help them in their real estate problem, which lots of times means selling it fast, getting some money, and taking care of those other responsibilities. So the first thing that I like to do is find properties that meet these demographics. And the way you do that is by getting a good software. Now, my favorite is Investor's Edge. You should check it out. It works amazingly well, and we'll put a link for you to check it out. Now, here's the other thing you can do that's very inexpensive and fairly easy to do, and it's called driving for dollars. What you're doing is you're driving around trying to find properties that look like they're a little bit run down. You see, you got to realize when an FHA inspector or appraiser is going to the property, they're looking at the property to make sure the new person that's buying it isn't going to be buying a money pit, right? So in that process, what they're doing is looking. There's a whole checklist of things that they're actually looking for. This is a sample of an FHA requirements for a house before HUD is going to want to do a loan on the property. Now, what they're going to do is ask the appraiser to fill this out. So if you're driving around and you see a property that has any of these things, that problem is going to have to be fixed, or they're gonna have to sell it to a cash buyer or somebody that's getting a hard money loan because the bank's saying, we don't wanna lend on this because there's the potential that it could get a lot worse or it is bad, which means our buyer is gonna run out of money trying to fix this things up, which means we're probably gonna end up foreclosing on this property, which means we don't want to do the deal. So that's what they're looking at with these types of things. So is there sinkholes? Is there substances? So if you're seeing something like that, operating oil or gas wells within 300 feet, operating oil or gas within 70 feet, abandoned oil or gas within 10 feet, readily observed evidence of slush pits, excessive noise or hazard from heavy traffic area. That's interesting, guys. New proposal construction in airport clearance zones, high pressure gas petroleum lines, overhead high voltage transmissions, excessive hazard from smoke fumes, new proposed in special zone hazards, stationary storage tanks of 1,000 gallons. Okay, here we go for soil contamination, septic, is there surface evidence? These aren't things you're gonna really be able to see, so I'm gonna skip down a little bit. I mean, you might see some of those, but grade and drain, this is one. Is there drain going away from the house or is it going towards the house? That's interesting. Is there standing water that's close to the structure? That's something you can find out as well. Proximity to public water, let's jump through these. The insects, wood destroying insects. Is there any type of wood destroying insects? If so, that's gonna have to get remediated and taken care of before an FHA is going to want to do this type of a loan. Road access, inaccessible by foot or traffic. Property accessible only by a private road. Property is not provided with all-weather surfacing. Gravel is acceptable. Floor support, significant cracks in floor supports. These are things inside the property, framing issues, attic issues. We're gonna get to some exterior things that you can actually see when you drive by it. Big compliments out to Cliff Odom, who is an RAA appraiser in Birmingham, Alabama. Check him out if you need an appraisal. Okay, so we've got foundation issues that you may be able to see, crawl space issues you're not gonna be able to see from the road when you're driving by. Now this you can, roof. If the roof is not covered the entire house, if there's evidence of deteriorating roofing materials, if the roof has less than 2 years of life, those are going to be some things. If the roof has holes, if it has signs of leaks, if it's a flat roof, there's an additional inspection that's actually required. So if you see that, you are going to want to say, that's a property I should probably check out. You're going to want to get the address down, or if you've got Investor's Edge, you can get your your app out and put it right in. Mechanical systems, this is gonna be hard to see from inside, but it's some things you need to be aware, or it's gonna be hard to see from outside, but things you need to be aware of. The furnace works, the smoke detectors, the unit shuts off, air conditioning, electrical systems, gotta have the on-off, if there's frayed wiring, those types of things are big concerns for health and safety. Okay, so this is what I like to look for. I've got my app, which makes it super easy for me. I'm just gonna find just a random property here. You know, I don't know anything about it, but I just want to give you an idea. One of the things that I have done is I have came in and created tags for myself. And basically with those tags, I can go in and look at things and say this property meets these conditions. So that's what I am looking for, is these things. So I'm looking for bad roofs. If it has like a blue tarp on it, I'm looking for broken down cars or cars that look like they can't run or haven't been moved in quite some time. I'm looking for any type of fire damage that may have happened to the property, any handicapped ramps. I'm looking for missing siding. I'm looking for houses that don't have any blinds on them whatsoever. I'm looking for overstuffed mailboxes, means stuff's been sent there, but nobody's picking it up. If there's snow, but there's no tire tracks, well, maybe it's been sitting there for a little while. Houses that I may think are vacant, I'm looking for that. Broken windows or boarded up windows. If there's a bunch of construction materials, I'm looking for properties that may have that. The gutters in disrepair, you can see it's been leaking. If there's a legal notice on the door, if there's moving boxes, if there's overgrown landscape and they could be getting a zoning violation. A lot of people don't realize that the cities has people that drive around and neighbors that call, and if something looks like it's getting out of control, they can call, and then the landowner, the property owner, can get fined if they don't take care of the situation. Peeling paint is what I'm looking for. Trash and debris is what I'm looking for. And just anything else where I'm like, you know what, there's just no way this is gonna qualify for FHA. Those are all things that I am actually looking for. So you're saying, Ryan, I get it. I'm driving around, I'm looking for these properties. I get it. I understand I need to have a good software to help me with all this, but what do I actually do here? Well, this is what you do. As you're driving around and looking in specific areas, the first thing you can do is identify a zip code that has the most fix and flip activity. Basically, the concept is fish where the fish are, not where they're not. There's some ponds that don't have any fish, and if you're going out there fishing, you're not gonna catch much because there ain't anything in there to catch. But if you know there's a bunch of fish, that's a good start. So one of the things that I like to do is determine what zip codes have the most fix and flip activity, which basically means the property was bought and it was resold within a 12-month period of time. If that's the case, I like to rank those by zip code, and the ones that have had the most buy and sells where we know it was a fix and flip, or I shouldn't say we know, but we assume it's a fix and flip because it's bought and sold in the same year, then those are the zip codes we're gonna wanna be looking in first. So then we take that zip code and we start driving up and down. While we're doing that, I'm using my handy dandy app where I can then put in there the things that I'm seeing. I'm looking for the blue tarps. I'm looking for the broken down cars. I'm looking for the overgrown landscape, those types of things, and I'm checking those on my box. Then what's happening is when I get back to my house, then I create a list of those. Now, there's two things I can actually do to get in contact with these people. I can either do a skip trace, which would get me their phone numbers, their emails, and give me the ability to text message, which there's a small cost to do that, 12 to 15 cents. Or I can send them a postcard. Now, I don't have to pay for a skip trace if I'm gonna do a postcard, but I'm gonna be paying 50 to 60 cents per postcard to actually send it out, and that can add up a lot faster. I prefer the calling. So what I like to do then is I like to do a skip trace. I like to get those phone numbers, and I like to make phone calls and say, hey, are you interested in selling your property? Do you have any interest in selling your property now or in the future? And then if they say no, do you have any other properties you own you'd be interested in selling? Do you know anyone else that may be interested in selling their property? Now, guys, I got to tell you, you're going to get a lot of no's. Most people are going to tell you no. You have to go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these phone conversations. So you gotta have some thick skin. So you either have to spend a lot of money to start getting some of those people to call, or you're gonna have to spend a lot of time and doing a lot of calling and getting a lot of rejection. So that's the whole concept here, is finding those properties, but it only takes one deal. And if you keep track of your time and the return on investment you would get with that one deal, it's pretty substantial. Now, let's just say you even didn't make any money on your first deal, okay? Let's just say it took so long you didn't make any money. Well, the first deal is the hardest, and you'll learn a lot of things, so when it comes time for that second deal, you'll be ready to rock and roll, and it'll be much easier to do the second one than it was to do the first one. So I really like this idea of driving for dollars. In fact, I think it's a missing strategy and so effective. It's now one of the strategies I teach, one of my main ones I teach my students. I've got an app that makes it incredibly easy, like I showed you, to track the driving. It'll actually show you where you've driven and to look up information for properties right from the side of the road. You can know how much they owe, who owns it, and everything. If you'd like to learn more about my driving for dollars strategy, check out my website, dohardmoney.com, and click the link on the screen. Make it a very profitable day.